Our shout out tonight for an unusual collaboration between an artist in Brooklyn working to honor a brave journalist.
James Foley was 40 years old when his career as a war zone photojournalist was tragically and brutally cut short.
It's awful, tragic news from overseas late today. It's about an American journalist named James Foley.
Beheaded by members of the violent Islamic group ISIS.
He reported from dangerous places, bearing witness to the lives of people a world away.
Now, almost 5 years later, an artist in Brooklyn, Bradley McCollum, has made it his mission to let the world finally see the work that James Foley risked his life to create.
When you searched his name, all you would find were the evidences of his execution. And it did seem to sort of embolden the executioner, but did little to tell his story.
So, with the permission of James Foley's mother, Diane, McCollum began to go through the video and still photos that James had left behind in his backpack that had never been seen publicly.
And inside the backpack were these 5 hard drives and his old computer. And at that point, this project became very personal.
Using an industrial-sized printer, McCollum first creates a silk overlay of the images he has selected, and then places the printed fabric over a canvas painting he has made of one of the scenes Foley captured with his camera.
So for me, this becomes this moment of almost like Christmas. Well, the painting behind me is one of my favorite paintings in this series, and it really combines 2 images. It's capturing what I really think of as the kind of this moment of beauty within a place of absolute destruction and kind of ruins. And overlaying this oil painting of the landscape is a detailed scan and reprinting of a letter that Jim wrote.
Another one taken in Libya during the overthrow of the Libyan leader Gaddafi.
What you see in the painting is a whole series of rebel soldiers with their cell phone cameras taking an image of this fallen soldier. We know now that it's Gaddafi's son.
Dozens of images, photos of war turned into art.
For me, it's not important that you understand the sub-narratives. I think as a painting, it begins to speak universally to war and conflict and accountability.
Before being taken hostage by ISIS, Foley had earlier been held hostage by a group in Libya, which ultimately let him go, but not before putting him through a true test of his courage.
I jumped up, tried to say we were journalists. Then I was hit several times with the butt of AK-47, punched, and dragged into a vehicle with my hands tied behind my back.
For Bradley McCollum, there is a heavy responsibility to get it right.
And it is a responsibility. It's a responsibility to create work that both honors and takes the next step beyond simply being a memorial, but one that transforms and makes us think in a much broader sense.
So it is a tribute to his journalism in the end.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. None of these paintings would exist if Jim wasn't as committed to telling the stories he told. I'm not using anyone else's images. I'm looking at and thinking about and making selections based on the footage he took. In a way, it feels often like I'm collaborating with Jim.
And so our shout out tonight to Bradley McCollum, whose works of art bring new life to the heroic journalism of James Foley. That's our program for tonight. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you back here next week.